Welcome everyone to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara. We talk about TV shows. The year is 2022 and the name of the show is Babylon 5. This is season 4, episode 14. We're already over halfway through the season. That's so, time's flying. The episode is called Moments of Transition. So full spoilers for the episode as always. And everything I said like 2 or 3 episodes ago about not seeing that much of this Minbari civil war was complete and utter nonsense. I'm a fool. I know nothing. We saw, I mean, obviously didn't see a lot of the fighting, but that's not that unusual for this show. But we saw a lot of the key conversations and a lot of the key drama that unfolded because of it, and the conclusion to it in this episode. Plus, we got a lot of stuff going on in the station with Garibaldi, Bester, Lita, bit of Zach. We touch of Zach. I always enjoy a bit of Zach. So that's just going on. You've been oddly silent throughout this, Tara.
I'm just letting you do your thing, you know?
My thing? There's a point though where I'm like, she's not said anything yet. I need to keep talking until she builds up the courage to muster
you need
something.
me to break through?
Yeah.
Always happy to see more Zach.
That was anticlimactic, I'm not gonna lie. But yes, welcome. A lot of big things this episode. I think we finally got confirmation that Bester directly is involved in Garibaldi's ongoing mind manipulation. Because we get a Bester captain's log at the end. So it's almost, we always think that it's almost a shame he didn't accidentally go into like an Enterprise thing as he was doing it.
Yeah, I wonder if that was like an obvious callback.
I don't know. If it is, it's a subtle one, because like I didn't even make that connection as I was watching. It was just right now as I was saying, oh, I can reference because Star Trek does captain's logs all the time.
Yeah.
And that's effectively what he does at the end. Yeah, there's some interwoven stuff going on here, because we have Lita, Bester, kind of independent, and then Garibaldi and his like Edgar's his new boss from Mars that's making him get packages out of customs.
Yeah, I thought he was going to Mars. I guess he's staying on Babylon 5.
But yeah, he brings it up though. He talks about later in the episode. He asks someone on the second phone call, because Garibaldi keeps getting woken up in the middle of the night because of the time difference between Mars and Babylon 5. And he says...
Which I think is odd. Just to cut you off real quick. Why is there a time difference between the planet Mars? Like, don't they have like hours depending on where you are on Mars? Isn't it kind of like Earth in that it's a globe?
Yeah.
With time zones? I mean, maybe days are longer.
Maybe all the colonies are all in the one part of the planet. Maybe they've not colonized the whole thing, so it's not like they're in different time zones.
Okay. Because this was the thing that happened in Twilight Zone also, where they're like, are you going to take me back to Earth time?
I mean,
Earth time. Earth has all times.
I guess it's no different. Like, so maybe there is maybe the colonies are spread out in Mars to a point, and there is, let's say that they're in 2 time zones, just given where they've colonized already. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't see Garibaldi saying the time difference between here and Mars is, I think it's 7 hours, he says. That's no different from me saying, oh, it's 7 hours between, or it wouldn't be 7, it'd be 5 or 8, but it's 5 hours between us and America, right? People wouldn't say, yeah, but America has 4 time zones. Yeah, it's clear what I mean though. The one that's closest is 5 hours. So it's the one that's relevant to the conversation. So I would take it as that, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think for a long time I thought all of US was 5 hours different from the UK. I didn't realise there was like 4 time zones in the US. Or 5, however many there is.
Yes, we are a very wide country in more ways than one.
Aye. So anyway, he says, oh, that you said I could come to Mars and see you though, and like do a proper formal indoctrination into the regime. And he's like, in due time, Garibaldi. It sounds like he's kind of fobbing him off a little bit, and that he's got no intention of ever seeing him. Which, and you know, it's pointed out repeatedly in this episode. You can see it in these phone calls that Mr. Edgars is hiding his face. Like, he does not let anyone see what he looks like. Which you had said to me before we started, that you speculate that he may not even be a real person.
Yeah. Well, I've got 2 things. Yeah. Either he's he doesn't exist. Like, he's something that's made up by the Psy Corps as kind of like a just he seems to be a very powerful man with a lot of money. So it could just be like the Psi Corps has just made up this figure to hold on to all of their money or something, or to give them power.
Yeah, push political ideas or whatever.
Right, yeah. Something where it's like, oh, it's not Psi Corps that's doing it, but they really are. Or we're not seeing him because of he's not human, or he's been possessed by one of those, I don't want to call them graboids because that's Tremor's thing, but you know what I mean? The little things that are attached to the...
Parasite.
Right, yeah.
Like
graboid's a good word, though.
Graboid's a great word, but they're very different from the parasites that are in this. I get what you're saying because they grab onto them, but they're not in the face, so you can't call them face huggers. Right,
yeah, there's no... It's just attached to them. It's like a tumor with a face. They don't have the tumors. There we go. Alien tumors. Space tumor.
I believe it is not a tumor. Just for the record. You know I was going to make that joke. Come on. You can't say the word tumor without me. Unless it's like the real world and someone's telling me they have a tumor, in which case it's a very serious conversation. And even then, I'm not convinced. I won't like... Are you sure it's not a tumor?
We gotta get our Mars quotes ready from Total Recall for when we go to Mars. Not just see you at the potty, Ricta, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to Mars.
Yeah. Nah, like you may be onto something there that he is this like amalgamation. He's just this. I mean, obviously Garibaldi, his not wife, but ex-girlfriend, ex-fiance. Like she says she's married to him. So either she's heavily in on the fact that this is a fake person and is really like attached to him and like really believes in the lie, or like Psi Corps have like messed with her mind so much that she remembers a person.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they have that ability. I don't know.
Well, we know they can like the criminals get their like the murderers and stuff, like they get their minds wiped and replaced. New identities, so. Yeah. I mean, it stands to reason like they could like just implant a person.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, like that could be a thing.
I don't know. We were doing really well with speculation, but we really messed up with the Minbari War.
Yeah, but we got Bab TV right. Come on, like
it's true. That was great.
Yeah, okay, that's at least a gold medal. So. Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in this plot in this episode. I love the stuff with Lita, her trying to get a job as a commercial telepath, but no one will hire her because they want her to be backed by Psi Corps because that's the rules. And the only people who would hire someone who's not backed by Psi Corps as a telepath are really dodgy, shady people who she doesn't want to work with for obvious reasons. Yeah. So
even though she's like a war hero, she can't do anything. Her story's really sad.
Yeah, it's sad. It had a really great laugh actually. Like I was not prepared. So Bester comes out of the station and he has some quid pro quo with Zach. There's a little bit of back and forth and some jokes about his being there. But he goes to see Lita, and I love that she can sense him. Like he's just standing behind her and it's like, this is going to make my day even better. I already get turned down for a job and now Bester's coming to speak to me. And he sort of says, oh, look, we could, there's a position in Psi Corps which is effectively just in name only. You'd be like a undercover operative effectively. You'd have to wear the badge, which isn't really undercover. I mean, it's not quite the right word, but you know what I mean. You have to wear the badge and the gloves because that's the rules. But otherwise, we'd leave you alone. You give us your cut of what you make and you do what you want, and we'd leave you alone under one condition. And he says, I want your body. I was not expecting him to say that, but Lita's reaction of, are you freaking crazy? really made me laugh. Because it did legitimately sound like some sort of weird sex pervert thing for a second. Like, what are you talking about?
That was funny. Bester explaining the joke of why are you crazy is funny to a telepath.
Out of your mind.
So, okay, are you out of your mind?
Yeah, it was a specific phrasing was important, I think, yeah.
Him explaining as to why that's funny for a telepath is a little bit like somebody explaining why their joke was funny and nobody laughed at it. Like, I definitely didn't need the extra help there, Bester. But actually, I did laugh out loud. Not at that scene, but I want to say it was later on where there was like a surprise act or something. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Oh, is it when Bester turns around after like they've carted off Garibaldi for trying to hit Bester? And Bester turns around and Zach's just sort of like, hello.
It might have been that. I think it was that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was a moment later on in the episode where I laughed out loud. I'm like, all right, you got me, Babylon 5.
Yeah, no, I thought that was funny. Basically, what he's wanting is like, after you die, I want your body for experimentation because you've got these enhanced gills and they've
He wants
enhanced.
to retaliate.
Yeah, you've got enhanced telepath abilities because whatever the Vorlons did to you, and we can't improve telepathic ability, so we want to be able to do that. So we want to study you. And he's like, there's a clause in here just in case you're worried that we might assassinate you to get you quicker. There's a clause saying it has to be natural causes.
Yeah.
So,
but don't we know that they can make something look like natural cause? From earlier, isn't that like the whole Ironheart story and stuff? Like they're making us do this, trying to
that's
convince
a good
people
point.
that they're dying of heart attacks or something.
That is a good point. I guess the idea being is that it would still look kind of suspicious if she dies of a heart attack right now when she's like 32, you know?
I suppose.
Or whatever age she is. Maybe I don't know if I complimented her there or insulted her with that number, but
she looks 30s.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think honestly my favorite little scene. Sometimes it's the little scenes that you really like in an episode. It's when Zach goes to her place to tell her that she has to like move to a smaller place because she can't afford to like pay the rent. There's so many little things I liked about this scene. And I think it's just one that the last time we saw them interact, they had that kind of friendship bonding where he offered to come and like have pizza with her, and it was like the first person who reached out to her and like so she wasn't alone anymore. And I think it's not even any of the big dramatic moments in the scene where he's like trying to comfort her or he's trying to tell her the bad news and she's like thankful that it's him. Those are all good, don't get me wrong, but it was actually just when he walks in and she's just happy to see, she's like, oh, hi Zach, do you want some dinner? It was just like, oh, this is where you two are now. You're just this friendly that like you're happy to see him. You'll offer him some food, and it was like I was rewarded for remembering their last story.
Right. Yeah. Because it seems to have been continuing off screen.
Yeah. So it's progressed a little bit, and it's not necessarily romantic. It's just it's just a nice friendship. It's nice. I was into it. So I thought that was neat, but he does. But this is the other thing I liked about this scene. It's really good. It's really exciting for the audience because Zach's starting to like question Garibaldi's mind, and he's like, "Hey, I maybe like to hire you for something. One thing, I need you to scan Garibaldi," and she's like, "With his permission." Not exactly.
She puts her foot down though. She's like, "No way."
She has her principles.
Yeah.
I do wonder if at some point though she will do it because they do strongly suspect that something's not right and he's not like of his own free will to to make that choice, because obviously
she's around him a lot in this episode. I thought maybe it would happen on accident.
Well, she does sense that Bester reads his mind, and she tells him that, and that's what makes Garibaldi like try to punch him.
Flip out. Yeah.
But what's so neat about it is that I was thinking that maybe they'll speak to Bester and try and ask him what's going on. But in that moment, I was forgetting that Psychor was the number one suspect for what happened to him, and that Bester may very well be. And by the end, he's like, "Yes, I've made Garibaldi alienate himself from his friends even more." I'm like, "Yes, finally we're getting
going
answers."
Exactly as planned.
Honestly, yeah, that's pretty much exactly what that speech was. Yes. But I like the fact that Zach is questioning this, and he butts heads with them a couple of times this episode. He notices him at the customs, like sneaking the package through. He starts to question who he's working for. He's doing his job properly, and Garibaldi keeps giving him shit for it when it's like, this was your job. You literally were doing this a year ago. So,
right. Yeah.
And all of a sudden Garibaldi has like some sort, because he drops a couple of lines about like not liking the fact that they split away from Earth and that they are doing this, like everything that's happened in the last year at the timeline, and it's like, you seemed pretty on board at the time. I don't remember you being like outspoken against it.
Yeah, it wasn't until you like disappeared for a little while and then came back and all of a sudden everything was wrong. Yeah. I definitely enjoyed the scene where Bester shows up and is sort of like cock blocking Zach from being able to spy on Garibaldi and what he's doing over in the one corner.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but yeah, it was like a double, not meaning, but like a double like effect there where we have the Bester stuff, but the idea that Bester also wants to split Garibaldi up from Zach and the others, so that's
Right,
actually adds to it, as well as what Zach's actually noticing. And
now that we know that, Bester is behind what's happening to Garibaldi, it's kind of like, well, maybe he's scanning Zach and knowing that he's on to Garibaldi about something, so he's going to literally like get between them and distract him and give Garibaldi enough time to get away.
I think that's the other thing. Zach's so nice and friendly. And obviously he almost accidentally became like a neo-Nazi in season 3, but like but part of the reason why he
made the right decision. That's why we love him.
Yeah, but part of the reason why he fell for that is because he is like trusting and maybe a little naive and sort of innocent. And I think in this episode, him being the one to sort of stand up and say, no, something's not right with you, Garibaldi, it's really endearing, and you kind of want to root for him to prove that he's right. And you feel like, he is kind of like the heart of Garibaldi, who's going to somehow like win him back over. And like in theory, if they succeed in bringing Garibaldi back and like reversing whatever happened to him, and Garibaldi sort of sees the light, it could be a really heartwarming moment where he's like finally thanks Zach for never giving up on him or something like that. I could see there being a really heartfelt moment there.
Right. Well, I mean, everyone knows that he's acting out of character, but Zach's the only one who's just like, maybe someone's like messed with him. Yeah.
Everyone else is like, oh, he's just been a dick. I guess I'm just done with him now.
Yeah. Like, oh, this was always something that he could become. And Zach's like, no, I think there's something else happening here.
Yeah, which is kind of, like I say, it's very endearing. I would almost like to see Jakar, who's been a while since we've seen Jakar, actually. But
he had like one line a couple episodes ago. Basically. It'd
be nice if he also too sort of came out and like stood next to Zach and sort of said, no, we have to try and help Garibaldi, something's not right.
I would like that. If the two of them teamed up, especially after everything that Garibaldi did for Jakar when he was like being held up in prisons and stuff.
I wasn't sure what plotline I liked the most that was currently ongoing, but I have to say this episode made me realize just how invested I'm in this Garibaldi stuff, particularly when you bring in Zach and Lita into it and all this, and Bester. Like, I really liked how it was like two separate plot threads that ended up twining by the end of the episode, and it was all kind of seamless, like how they all fit together.
It was a very Seinfeld maneuver, All of a sudden, everything it connects at the end.
Obviously, the Minbari War stuff's very separate. That's its own thing.
Sure, but, that's true.
All the stuff on the station did kind of come together. I also like that Sheridan's just absent. Like, you see him at the start, where he's like wanting an update on Delenn, and then you don't see him again until the very end. If I have maybe a minor critique of the episode, it's probably at the last scene, which I thought was building up to a joke, honestly. When Ivanova comes in and she's yelling, those bastards. I genuinely thought it was going to build up to be like her. They took my favorite donut away from the cafeteria, so like I thought it was going to be something stupid, but then it turned into like a real serious. No. Like, Clark is having them fire on civilian ships that are transporting like injured and like children and stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, this is.
But it's played a little bit like frustrated Ivanova that we've seen before joke, before punchline.
I don't know if that's maybe a critique of the performance slightly. And normally she's very good. Like, I enjoy her performance by and large all the time, but
yeah, totally.
This maybe just was a slightly off start to the scene, and I think just this big dramatic moment at the end where it provokes Sheridan into making this speech was like, well, you know what, we're basically declaring war on Earth now. We're going to take the colonies, we're going to take Mars. If they're going to fire on civilians, we're doing this. And I was kind of behind him in why he's saying what he's saying, but it was kind of like, I'm not so sure it fits on this episode. I get why thematically it kind of does, because it kind of then, we're finishing the Minbari Civil War and we're going straight into an Earth Civil War. Like, I do kind of like the parallel between them, but I still think this scene felt a little tacked on to this episode. So it's a minor, it's a very minor critique. I like the scene for what it's set up and what it does, but tacked on. Yeah,
I 100% agree. I felt the same way. I was just like, oh, what's going on with Ivanova? Like, they took her hairbrush away or something. I don't know exactly what was going to happen.
Because what I thought, because when I saw Sheridan, I thought, oh, this is going to bookend, because it started with him being worried about Delenn. I thought it was going to be him getting a call from Delenn saying she's on her way home or something. It was going to bookend, because that's what it set up at the start, is that he was waiting to hear from her. He was getting worried. So then Ivanova comes storming in and we go through this other rabbit hole of plot, and I'm like, oh, okay. I guess that's where we are now with that.
I assume Delenn will be back next episode, though. Things seem to wrap up on Minbar.
Yeah. I mean, she probably will be back next episode. I wouldn't be surprised if they say it takes her an extra episode to make the journey, just so that we focus on other things.
Right.
For an
Maybe
episode,
a Shakar episode or something.
But so those cheeky bastards, Nirun was working with her all along. It was all part of the plan.
Yes, everything's going exactly as planned again.
Yeah, well, that was actually quite nice because it was kind of an uplifting thing, and it's got a dark.
Well, sure, because I actually was thinking, I fell for it last week, where I'm like, Nirun, he's a baddie.
I think what's nice about it, but and also kind of layered and gives it some depth, is that it's also kind of a dark plan in that effectively this plan meant letting the warrior caste win a little bit so that the surrender and all this like ceremony would feel legit. So Delen's plan here involved letting them kill a number of civilians or a number of religious like
Caste,
fighters. Yeah, this was like sacrificing at least a number of people for however long it was from when they made this plan to when they did this ceremony with this surrender. Like whoever died in that time was kind of like they chose to let that happen to make this victory work. And
right,
I think obviously
it's something that's come up before in Babylon 5.
Oh, for sure, and it's an old like philosophical thing and strategical thing about war that you talk about is like, do you sacrifice 500 over here to save 5,000 over there? Is that the right thing to do if it wins you the war? Because if you try to get everyone out alive, you're probably just going to lose because you're not willing to make the sacrifice. It's the chess, right? You sacrifice a pawn or a knight here or there to protect the queen, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
wars are stupid.
For sure, but it does it doesn't change the fact that it's a very dramatic choice for her to make. It's something that she's going to have to live with. The whole thing is basically like, we have to we can't just have one side win. So Delen says to Lanier, tell them we're surrendering, which honestly, that's the moment where I felt like there was a plan at play, is when, as soon as she said to Lanier, tell them we're surrendering, just do it. I was like, oh, this feels like there's like a
and then she gives him like a magic wand or something. A recorder for him to play the Titanic theme on.
So the warrior cast, Nirun's in the leader's ear to do it at this particular site because it's got a lot of heritage and history. It's also a good place to like broadcast it from and all the rest of it.
And Minbari are very close to their, religion and culture. It makes sense.
And he kind of inspires the idea that we're doing it from here because this was like one of the old traditions that predate Valen. So it's kind of us saying we're going back to the older ways. We're not doing the Grey Council. But then Delen kind of uses that as well and says, well, the old tradition is that the leaders of both sides would step into this, debilitating light that would eventually kill us, and the true leader would be willing to stay in there longer than the other person, and that the person who leaves would be the coward. And sure enough, the leader of the warrior caste is like, I'm not getting in there. You kidding me? This is ridiculous. Don't be silly.
But I'll die.
Delen is like just proving the gahonas she has. The entire is like, look, you want to make this a dick measuring contest? No one's dick's bigger than Delen's. All right, that's what this scene was, and I mean that in a good way. I'm not making fun of it, but that's the fact. If you want to boil it down to the showmanship here,
it was also very much what the lesson that the Centauri had to go through of like, look, you long for these days from before because you romanticize them, but along with the things that you like come with a lot of things that were terrible and actually in reality overshadow all the good things that came out from that time. So like, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, and Delen is willing to like stay in there until she dies. Like she's going the full hog, and it's actually Nirun who sacrifices himself to get her out of this light. I mean, if I have like another small critique, is I don't know if there's enough to explain everything about this light and how it works and why she can't just step out. Like, it's all a bit vague.
She gets a nice sunburn.
Yeah, it's all a little bit vague, but the reason why I let most of it slide is because the actual drama of the scene and the Nirun being a hero and sort of stepping in and saying, no, Delen is too much of a good leader. I'm not letting her do this.
it was a really good scene, and I respect his sacrifice. I like the character a lot more now.
There's a butt coming up.
But I couldn't help but think of Quantum Leap because I've been watching it.
Oh, okay.
And when the big sky beam comes down on him and he's got his arms raised and the fan's blowing, and then he just disappears. So maybe he just quantum leapt somewhere.
Hey, you said fan. I felt like you were almost going to say his hair's blowing in the wind, and then you realised, no, I can't say
his
that.
His bones are blowing in the wind. All the spiky bones.
Hey, like, the wind is... See if you lose your hair, or some of your hair, in my case.
Uh-huh.
Because... Can I just say, like, how cold the wind is on the top of the head when that part thins? It is not pleasant. Like, it is... Honestly, it's the reason why most men who are partially bald or completely bald will wear a hat when it's windy. It's like, no, like, something needs to be there.
Yeah.
To cover it.
Yeah.
It stings. It's like... You know how when if it's really windy, it feels like you're getting slapped in the face with cold? Imagine that in the top of your head. It's just unpleasant. It's unpleasant.
I'll take your word for it.
So what I'm saying is that Niren's
Plus you gotta put sunscreen up there.
Yeah.
Who
Niren's
wants to do that?
True hero. Well,
Yeah.
I don't, but I mean, I'm in Scotland, so I don't really need to. Plus, like I say, a hat or a hood will do the trick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Niren's a hero. He even says, he makes a big dramatic speech about how, I was born a warrior caste, but I see my true purpose is religious. And do you know what I liked about this though is that Delenn reforms the Grey Council, but she says, you know what, traditionally there was 3 of each type, and she like brings out like 2 of each of the warrior and the religious caste. And I'm like, wait, why is there no worker caste? But then she's like, no, traditionally there was 3 of each. I was like, oh, she's going to like stack the deck. She's going to make it be 5 worker class. And they've not went into it too much, but she even says, Delenn, you forgot about the worker caste. And I feel like even the viewers, because it's always the warrior and religious caste.
Well, we brought it up last week too.
We talked about
like, how come they never talk about the worker class?
I compared it to The Expanse last time about the Belleters with Earth and Mars being the two powerful factions, and I think this actually was a really effective use of the idea that we've never talked about them that much, is that she's like, no, we always forget them. They're the ones that are we are working for them because they're the people who make up the bulk of the population. They should be dictating what we do for them, not the other way around. So there's a nice message in there, I thought.
That's right, politicians out there.
Yeah, you pricks. But no, that was a really nice sentiment. I like a smile came across my face as I realized what she was doing, because I was like, this is kind of cool, and the fact that they don't talk about them much made it all the more powerful that she's like, no, they have to have the majority here. It's just the way it should work. And sure enough, the new Grey Council's formed. She's got a bit of a sunburn thing going, but she's
still has all her hair and it looks great.
Well, yeah. I mean, why would the hair go away?
I don't know. I don't really know how the sky beam works.
If we compare it to really intense sunlight, like, that doesn't make your hair fall out, right?
It would definitely change the texture of your hair.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have that hot air on it.
Sure.
Make it a little crispy.
So. But yeah. But I actually quite like a lot of this ending of the Minbari Civil War stuff as well.
Yeah, it's a very clear message.
It had maybe a slightly convoluted with some dodgy guest actor start to it in some ways.
Yeah.
But I actually really like the conclusion of it all and kind of the points that it's getting at.
I like that the one, the evil Minbari guy with the goatee.
That's how you know he's evil. Yeah, he's
is that because they put so much on the forehead for the prosthetics, that they had to put in like a furrowed brow at one point because he couldn't do it on his own to keep his brow furrowed. Like earlier in the episode, I'm like, I haven't seen that before, where it's just like a permanent scowl on his brow.
That's
anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah. It wasn't there later on, so.
Yeah, I liked all this. I wonder what Sheridan's reaction is going to be when Delenn walks in. She's like still kind of burns, like, well, what happened, Delenn?
Maybe she has a nice tan.
It was a bit crispy, Sheridan. Don't worry. Yeah. I know. She's going to come in. She's like, I need to come in and put my feet up, honey. like I've just finished a war. I don't want to have another war for so long. About that, Delenn, I just started one.
War. We're going to war.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but, I really liked this episode. I thought all the plots were advanced a lot. I probably like the Garibaldi Zack and Lita stuff even more than the Minbari stuff, but the Minbari stuff was still pretty good, and I still really like
Minbari stuff wrapped up really nicely because I was kind of uninterested in the beginning, but I like the way it wraps up, and it's definitely the Garibaldi stuff that I'm invested in, and also like this show better do something really nice for Lita by the end because I'm getting some real like Sansa Stark vibes off of her, where they're just going to keep torturing her. Which
actually, that's a good point, is that we sort of glossed over this, but Bester's manipulation by the end actually gets him what he wants. We see her putting on the badge and the gloves at the end.
Yeah.
So
she's a war hero. Like, some people, they should just help her out. Like, give her a stateroom. Yeah. Come on.
So she's given in, and she's got the uniform on this. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I hope Lita gets the win. I hope Lita gets to be the one who rips Bester's head off. Or no, makes his head explode with like telepath powers.
There's the scanner power.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because there's that moment where she like goes to Garibaldi and is like, hey, do you want to hire me? Because I can't really get work anywhere else. And he's like, okay, what's your like empath range? And she's like, officially 20 to 25 feet. Unofficially, much further. And I'm like,
yeah.
How much further? Like, how? So that was clearly what it was before the Vorlons boosted you. Like, how much percentage wise, how much is it? Double? Is it triple?
I mean, could she go across space, like to other planets? Who knows? I mean, she talked. I guess her range was pretty far when she was connecting to the Vorlons, or to the
when they were out in the ship looking
shadows.
for. Yeah, they were looking for the other ships and stuff. Yeah, and she was connecting at least across, a mile or two, if nothing else.
That's way more than 25 feet.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm underselling it with triple. It's more like 40 times the distance. I don't know. Someone check the math. I have no idea. But yeah. Not really good. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. I'm all for Zack saving Garibaldi and holding him in his arms. And like, Chief, I'll never let you down.
But you can't have this uniform back.
No, it's mine now.
He looks sharp.
He does look sharp. I want to say I'm really impressed with how much of a good character Zack has become. When he started off as just being like, he's just a guy that Garibaldi talks to occasionally in his plots.
Well, he also replaced another character that we liked, or an actor that we liked. He replaced the bald guy from First Blood.
That's right, yeah. I mean, we never liked him as much as Zack, though.
No, but he was clearly like the same blue-collar worker, someone close to Garibaldi.
He was bordering on Bridge Boy level, but then he disappeared, so he didn't get quite the same. Like, Bridge Boy's been gone for a while now, but Bridge Boy stuck around longer, so he really got a legend attached to him.
Right.
The Ballad of Bridge Boy.
I'd like to write that ballad.
I'm just thinking of song lyrics now in my head. So thank you very much for joining us, everyone. Let us know what you thought of this episode of Babylon 5. We'll see you next time. Of course, you can subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. All those things do help out the algorithm, so please hit the buttons and do that. You can, of course, support us on Patreon. Can't you, Tara?
That's right. If you enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MildFuzzTV. And for as little as $1 per month, you will get access to bonus episodes for other shows we do. And if you donate $5 per month, you will get access to these Babylon 5 reviews 6 days early. So please head on over, check that out if that interests you. And thank you. We enjoy our little community of Babylon 5 fans and Mild Fuzz fans. Thank you. I'm just not a closer, aren't I? No.
You didn't say, usually say that's right, Peter. You just said that's right, paused, and then moved on. And I thought, oh no. Because for those of you who don't know this, and you won't at this point, we just did a recording of something else where Tara went to the outro, and because she added 2 words before the that's right, Peter, she went, why, yes, that's right, Peter. she completely buckled halfway through and blamed the fact that she added 2 words on at the start for messing herself up. So I was worried there that removing 1 word was going to cause havoc in the rest of that, and it didn't.
I was just so nervous because of what happened, the horrible failure that was the last time
That be
we recorded this.
season 4, episode 4 of Twilight Zone. When that goes up, that you can hear the horrible Patreon plug in that one.
Yes, please check it out. Plus, Twilight Zone's a great show.
Yes, but that is us. That is Babylon 5 once again. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the home world.